Okay, so now our special guest is Dr. Lee Airton. And Lee Airton, Lee has been on the show before to talk about the No Big Deal campaign. And I'm just going to let you tell everybody what the No Big Deal campaign is.
Sure, I will. And also, I'm glad that everyone is able to verify that I am indeed who I said I was, because now you know that is in fact me.
No, that is not Lee.
Okay. Yeah,
I just
that's
love that
me.
Babadook so
Good
much.
grief.
Lee's getting Baba shook.
Well, that's all right. My name is Lee Airton, and I'm the founder of a couple of resources for folks who use gender-neutral pronouns. I do myself. My pronoun is they. I'm a non-binary trans person. And the one that I'm here to talk about is the No Big Deal campaign. So if you want to check it out, it's nbdcampaign.ca. And basically what that is, if you want to bring up, do you want to bring up the other thing you got there? Yeah. So what we do at the NBD campaign is we make resources that people can share. I think someone just walked into the door.
A panelist,
Hello.
in fact.
We make resources that people can share, which help folks to understand how to support transgender people in using our pronouns in everyday language. So this is actually our very newest resource, and I'm really proud of this. It's gone pretty low-key viral. I've had almost 600 shares, and I'm on Facebook. Yeah, so woo-hoo, thank you. Yeah, and all of our stuff is designed by an amazing graphic designer named Kai Sepulus. If you've ever had a craft beer, you've enjoyed her art. On the can there. And basically, as you can see, we're trying to help folks understand what it is to use someone's gender-neutral pronoun, and that fundamentally it doesn't have to be a large, big problem. It doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be a political conversation. It can be a pretty everyday thing. Like, hey, that's my pronoun. Someone's like, cool.
Thanks for stopping by.
That's it. I got it. Bye. Thanks. Yeah. So that's really that's it. So our new resource here, and we have a lot of other posters that kind of speak back to common arguments against doing this thing for transgender people. So if you want to check it out, we have a lot of other graphics. But this one here is just basically saying, you know what, my pronoun is a big deal for me. But you can actually just use it without us needing to go into all this stuff. Because most of the time when I address somebody by their pronoun, I don't know anything about them, right? So it's kind of suggesting to people that this isn't an occasion for big conversation. You can just say, hey, yeah, it's your pronoun, I'll do my best. Cool.
And, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to preface this by this will sound offensive, and I do not mean it in
Hit
that
me.
way. But I'm picturing it like when somebody says, like, oh, that's such a cute dog. What's his blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, she's a girl. You're like, oh. You know, I think that's the sort of level of acceptance that we need to get to, where nobody gives a shit.
That's not offensive at all.
Okay, fair enough. I just wanted to
You'll
make sure
have
that
to
I wasn't
try a
talking
little
about
harder.
animals and people. All right, good.
No,
Well, wait till we turn off some cameras. No, I am not.
Yeah.
Anyway, but you know what I mean?
Like
That's
no
the
big
level
deal
of
that most people's pronouns are.
And that's okay. So that's sort of the way I process it, as like that's sort of what you're sort of getting to, where you just want people to say, like, "Oh, okay, cool," and now I know, and move on.
Then here's the question, and we stepped in it a little bit late last year.
And you were so nice when I came on your show.
Oh well, thank you.
Yeah. So you're all like, let us learn. I'm like, okay.
Yes, that's what. Okay,
That was
for
pretty
those
rad.
who don't know, we did an off the top of the show where we talk about before the guest comes on. We had a discussion about this, and there was somebody on the panel who was really. It's Matt. He's the one who's. Well, I mean,
It's whoever's not here right now.
Yeah.
It changes.
It's Matt. He's in Charlottetown performing. But there was a lot of. It came from a place of misunderstanding and just not knowing. And we got a lot of pushback about that online.
Well, I mean, it's also partially Matt's personality. So, you know, he will say things like, so I'm like, oh my God, I can't even deal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that he's rejecting
What?
you or
Can you do
rejecting
Matt's
what you're saying.
Matt impersonation again?
One more time.
But maybe later. It's still early in the night. But, you know, so I think it was born out of Matt being Matt and just the way that he takes things in and says things.
Right. No.
But it doesn't necessarily always come across that way in the liberal media.
Right. Oh. Yes, I agree with you. but we did get pushback online. And the thing that was interesting to me is when I addressed this issue online with people, whether they were trans or not, it was a big deal. And it became a political fight, as opposed to me saying, we screwed up, we need to be educated on this. And you, thank heavens, were able to say, I'm an educator, because...
I am an educator.
Yeah, where do
I
you
educate
teach
people.
now?
Well, actually, that's part of my great news is that I actually got a academic tenure track job at Queen's.
That's what I thought.
Which doesn't happen anymore. I'm like unicorn, but I've been teaching for many years now at OISE at the University of Toronto, and part of my work is actually my job is to take a lot of people who are really lovely people, and they want to teach children and young people, and they might not know a heck of a lot about what I talk about, but they're just there for it, and they're into it, and they just want to come along and do their best.
Right.
So that's the orientation that I bring to my work around pronouns. So yes.
Yeah, but I say thank you for coming on and actually kind of being patient with us in explaining what this is. And in fact, I'm curious if there's anybody here who kind of goes, gender neutral pronouns, what?
Yeah, does anyone have a question? Like, I actually take questions on my blog, which is theyismypronoun.com. I've been doing that for about 7 years. Was that a lie? My gosh. Okay, like at least 6
I know,
years
we're
now
all
I've been
closer
doing
to
that.
death.
Yeah, fair enough. I've been doing that for a long time, and what I do on my blog is I take questions from people like, oh, this person changed their name. How do I ask them if their pronoun has changed? And then I give them an answer. They say, wait a minute, do I say they is or they are? And I'm like, always they are. Or you don't have to do like, is they coming to my party? Would they's like to bring a partner?
Because
what
if you're
is
use
they
is,
bringing?
just
I'm like,
use
you can say
just use-
you when you speak to me. That's fine.
Also, you
So
can,
I take care of that
Oh, and
problem.
you can
And
also
you-
use their name.
Right.
Yeah,
know? I
sure
mean,
you
like,
can.
That's another thing too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I've actually started kind of doing that more with people, just using their names instead
That's
of relying on a
wonderful.
pronoun.
Well, see, I know with me, I go like in drag. I do it completely different because they don't know how to say. Oh, do you know? Do you go by she or do you go by he? Like that's my thing. And like for me, it's whatever you want. I'm not gonna be offended
Well,
either way.
sometimes, like when I talk about you, I use both.
Well, yeah. 'Cause
Well, it
you're
depends
used
if
to
I'm
me.
talking about. I'm not going to say your boy name, but it depends on if I'm talking about you as a boy,
Oh, yeah.
or if I'm talking about Faye.
Well, see though,
Because Faye. you know,
but see, in the gay community or in the drag community, if they already know me as a drag queen, they call me he, she, whatever, like regardless.
How about you're just queen?
Yeah, we call Tito that too, but that's the point.
Yeah, that's true. We do.
I think that it's important to sort of shift the worry people have away from offending someone. Because that's what I hear is, I'm going to offend you. It's going to be offensive. But what I would really like to see is people, oh gosh, no. Okay, no. The point of this comment is not you offended me by talking about being offended. Okay? That's not the point. The actual point is...
The point. The
The
point.
actual point is that
the point.
it doesn't offend me when someone uses the wrong pronoun for me. It actually just exhausts me. It's just exhausting. So over time, a lot of folks use a gender-neutral pronoun, or trans people who use a pronoun that one wouldn't automatically assume, because that's also when pronouns come up for trans folks. You just always are making a call, like, do I want to get into this right now? Do I have the energy to get into this right now? Am I going to come back to this restaurant? Am I going to come back to this service? Am I going to come back here and do this work? Or am I just going to go somewhere else? Or am I just going to, over time, become more and more exhausted and beaten down by this thing, and that I'll have to leave my job because my mental health is suffering? So the immediate issue isn't that I'm going to politically take offense. It's usually just like, It's kind of like when you turn the generator off on a wind dancer. You know those things? Like they're like this outside gas.
Oh yes.
Oh, the crazy
Like
wacky
they're
wavy
just like-
inflatable arm flailing tube man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go. And then you turn it off, and it's like. That's what it's like. I'm not like. It's just like, okay.
So you're always turned on? Is this what you're saying right now?
I'm always flailing around until someone uses the wrong pronoun for me, and then I.
Well, Lee, if you said that you take questions on your
I
blog,
do, yeah.
and what is that blog again?
Theyismypronoun.com.
But you have lots of your website is great. You have lots of resources like what? Let's get that back on the screen again. Not the
No.
Baba Shook.
That is not on my site.
No. all the infographics are amazing. They're great educational tools. What is that website?
That website is the NBD Campaign.ca. We just encourage people to do their best to say, no big deal, I'll use your pronoun. That's cool. And we actually have like a square, very social media friendly badge that you can share that just says, I'll use your pronoun, no big deal. And the cool thing about that is that I know a whole bunch of people are into just doing this thing. And what this does is make that visible for us as we wander around. So if you want to have that to help to create that space where you are, where you work, etc., you can download that and basically stick it wherever you like.
And actually, before you
profile
leave, I
picture?
just wanted, because this was news the day yesterday, the day before we were shooting this, that Oregon became the first state to allow non-binary as a choice on driver's licenses.
Woo!
So, yeah. So I wanted to get, and actually there was this other story about the Methodist Church ordaining a non-binary person for the first time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think it's fascinating that there's an increased awareness and acceptance of what it means to be non-binary, and I wanted to get your reaction to all of that.
Well, I think that's really cool because if we think about our institutions and our ID requirements and the way we try to do right by people in schools and in healthcare and things like that, if we center people for whom gender isn't working at all, then we're never really gonna mess up gender for anybody. So if we just don't, if the state isn't interested in what my gender is and doesn't put that on my health card, then no one's gonna have to go through some stupid process of changing that, right? So that's, I think it's really exciting because I think we're moving very slowly away from the state needing to be invested in what my stupid letter is.
Yeah.
So I
Good.
think that's pretty cool.
That's great.
But it'd be nice if we didn't have to do these things at all, but we do. So
That's the
So
way.
there we are.
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
think it's pretty cool.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Thanks for being here.